Someone once told me that I got lucky, and this got me thinking, how much of our success and accomplishments are actually attributed to luck, or are they attributed to our hard work and the skills that we have been continuously building? Hi guys, welcome back to Clearly Becoming, a podcast all about empowering ambitious individuals by giving them the tools, strategies, and honest conversations to help you navigate the chaotic, non-linear path that is one's 20s. And just a reminder that you can be ambitious and confused at the same time. So let's get into it. This episode is going to be talking all about luck and what it actually means to be lucky. The reason why I wanted to make this episode is because I feel like more than not, we're told that you have to have the resume virtues, as I like to call it, which means you have to get an education, you have to build the skills, you have to learn how to network, you have to know how to communicate. And all of these skills are so important. And it's what I've talked about in my upskilling series about how to build these skills to get the opportunities that you want. But then someone told me, what if opportunities are due to just being lucky? They told me that I was a lucky person. And I have never felt like a lucky person. I've always looked at other people and thought like, oh my gosh, they're so lucky. But I never, ever thought that I myself could be looked at as somebody who was lucky. And it was interesting because this conversation really spun through me thinking about how in the world did I get the job and how did I get my internships? Because I had seen other people in my internship and with other jobs and learning about their process, which was very different than mine. And they had to do a lot of networking, getting their foot in the door that way. But for me, I went through I guess, traditional route in a sense. Not that networking isn't traditional. I think it honestly nowadays is becoming more and more powerful. But what I did is that I was mass applying to hundreds and hundreds of applications and doing the hire views and making sure my resume was tailored to the job application and doing all these things like the background things. And it just so happened that that was how I got my internship. And that's all about the skills and the resume virtues and the things like that. But other people went through the networking route and the connections. And so when my friend told me that luck was a factor of me getting my internship, immediately I was like, well, wait a minute. What about all the hard work that I put in? What about the skills that I had built? What about my study abroad at Wharton? What about my education at King's? What about the classes that I took and the retail job that I had and the hundreds of applications that I did and the hire views and the thousand of cover letters that I wrote and everything like that. And those things, those internal things that I had, that's what my friend couldn't see. That's what most people don't see, is that a lot of people just see the accomplishments and the success. And that's why they think you are quote unquote lucky, because they're not really seeing the effort that you are putting in to get these opportunities. And basically the accreditations are glossed over. And why I'm bringing this up is because I thought that I put in so much hard work and that I didn't stop until I got a yes. Every single no was just another opportunity for me to get a yes. And if that's lucky, then I feel like I'm the luckiest girl in the world. And I feel like you really create your own luck. But I wanted to go into what are the psychological concepts, the wiring of our brains that make us think that other people are lucky, and why myself, I didn't feel like I was lucky. This theory called the locus of control, which was established by Rotter in 1996. And they talk about the internal and external. Do you believe that you drive your outcomes, or do they happen to you? So basically the internal things is all of those hire views, the applications, the resume virtues, all of that I was putting in my hard work. The external is that the situations just happen to you, like the right time, right place, like the random outcomes, the chances you meet somebody outside a bookstore and, you immediately get along and turns out they work for X company that you wanted to go for. And then you're chatting and then they tell you that there's actually a job opening and then you get the job like that. That's like the external forces in a way. This is where the fundamental attribution error comes in, where we attribute our success to kind of the internal controls, our hard work and disciplines. But then when we fail, we attribute it to the external, and vice versa for other people. So if somebody else succeeds, we focus on the external, like my friend did, the luck, the success that happened. And then the errors, they attribute it to our personality, so our internal. So if we're late or something like that, then they think, oh, I'm just a lazy person who doesn't have good time management skills. And so this was really what was happening in the circumstances, that I was attributing my success to the internal, whereas my friend was attributing it to the external forces. And I think it's really important to have a viewpoint on both of them, because I do think there is a little bit of chance in that, yes, it was the right time and right place that I happened to get it, but it was also all the hard work that I put into it. So it's neither either or, it's kind of both in tandem working together. But why I want to bring this up is because your 20s are so critical to building that internal locus of control. And it's actually shown that if you have a higher internal locus of control, then you have lower stress because you have agency. You feel that agency over your life, that you are able to narrate and create the life that you want. You're able to create your own luck. And this is what I really wanted to identify in this episode, is that you are the creator of your life and how your path is going to look in your career. You are able to change the course of your path by the agency that you have. And so having that higher internal locus of control, knowing and believing, having that high self-efficacy, the belief that you can actually do something challenging, that will get you so far in luck. And that really is what luck is to me, is that you create your own luck through the opportunities and by taking the opportunities that come to you. When we observe somebody else's success, we normally can't see their inputs. And it's why we constantly are idolizing entrepreneurship and people like that, is because we only see their success. We never see the inputs and the failures before that. And I want to bring up this person that I know and that I really admire, and they are called Bryony Deary, and she owns a Pilates company, and she also started a matcha brand with a co-founder, Rochelle. And basically, this company in Pilates started during COVID. And so, yes, it was the right time and right place. Where COVID, everybody was online. And so they were doing their workout classes and things like that. So that is quote unquote luck and the external locus of control. But it was also her internal locus of control, where she is very hardworking. She only had like an iPhone, a little tripod, and a Zoom class, but she put in the work. She got her Pilates degree. And before that, she had a failed swimwear brand, which nobody really knows about. So you think that, oh, she's just a very successful Pilates owner and now a matcha owner, but they don't see that beforehand, she had a failed business, a swimwear business, but that taught her so much. And so it's always so easy to look at the output and the success and the accomplishments of others, but you have to realize that there are so many inputs in there. And once you focus on what you can control and learning to grow your skills and create your own luck, I think that will demonstrate to you that you have so much control over your life in a way. And it's not to say that sometimes that you need to detach a little bit, especially from the outcome, but it's focusing on what skills can you hone. If you never failed at something, you'll never have those learnings in order to succeed. I think it's so important to fail in order to succeed. And this is also called the serendipity bias, where you don't always see the invisible inputs in towards somebody else's outputs. And it's not malicious. It's not like my friend was like, oh, you're just lucky and you don't have any hard work ethic. I think it was just a little bit of a cognitive blind spot as well. And I wanted to bring up this case study that was done in the UK at a British cafe. And the study was conducted where there was a £5 bill left outside a cafe. And there was also a very successful businessman sat in the cafe. And one person was quote unquote lucky, and the other person was not lucky. What happened was it changed the trajectory and their viewpoint perspective of the day. So the lucky person found the £5 bill outside the cafe. They went into it, bought a cup of coffee, and saw the businessman and started chatting with him. The unlucky person didn't notice the £5 bill and also didn't notice the businessman because they thought that they weren't lucky. And so it's interesting how if you deem yourself a lucky person, it actually changes your perspective and it opens your mind up to the possibilities that can happen throughout your day. Whereas when you're unlucky, you're stuck in this kind of cognitive bias that there are no opportunities out for you and that you actually miss things that are just surrounding you. They miss the £5 bill. They miss chatting with the businessman because they weren't open to the opportunity that they could have circumstances that allowed them luck. Or why I wanted to bring this up is that It's all about your perspective. So if you don't think that you're a lucky person, then you're not going to be lucky. But if you open your mind up to the possibilities that you can be lucky and that you can have opportunities come to you and that things happen, then you will shift your mindset and actually open yourself up to the possibilities of what can be. And so there's this thing called the prepared mind by Pastor, and basically talks about that luck is equal to preparation times opportunity. And I love a maths formula because it just gets it really easy and tangible and tactile. But obviously life is not always like this. I just think that this is a good way to reframe luck in a sense. Because sometimes I feel like there's a negative connotation with luck is that, oh, they're just lucky, but they actually don't have any skills or work ethic. But no, you can be lucky and also have the skills and discipline and all those habits that we're building. The prepared mind is all that hard work that you put in. It's the resume virtues, it's the hard and soft skills, it's the ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead and be a good collaborator by building those team working skills. And then the opportunity is that external locus of control, I guess. It's that you see that 5-pound bill and you grab it and you take it. You see that businessman, you sit down and you do the coffee chat, you cold email people, you reach out, you get those opportunities. And if you see that golden ring, as one of my parents said in a past interview, which I'll link below because I think it's a really good episode, you grab it. You don't wait for another one to come by. If you see an opportunity, you get it and you hold on to it. And if it doesn't work out, then you grab another one because there's going to be thousands of golden rings in your future, but you just have to have the mindset and the readiness to take it and feel worthy of grabbing that opportunity and know that because you have prepared yourself, because you have gained all those skills and knowledge, that you're ready to take the opportunities when they come. And you're not going to let them pass them by because you're stuck in this mindset that you're not lucky, because you are lucky. You just have to believe it for yourself. So this is really the intersection of what luck looks like on the outside. I honestly think that at first I was a little bit shocked when my friend told me that I was lucky, and I felt, I don't know, I think I felt like a little put down by it because I was like, well, wait just a minute. What about all these things that I had been building? What about all these skills that I have and all this hard work that I put in order to obtain all of my success? But I also think that that is a little bit limiting because if you think that all of your success is just internally driven, I don't know if that's always true because sometimes it is the external forces. And if you stay stagnant and just like, oh, everything that I get is because of what I do, then you are limiting yourself to the possibilities of external things that could get you opportunities. What I mean by this is that if I think that all of my accomplishments are driven by what I do, then I might have missed out on the opportunity to see that businessman sat down there and talk with them. I think it's really good to be aware of both of these, to have both of the external and the internal locus of control and how that they can create a life and a path for you in a non-linear way, because nowadays we have so much access to other people and it's our responsibility to connect with other people because this is our social currency, is being able to communicate with other people and just seeing what can happen from that. And it's not to take advantage of it. Honestly, one of my reasons to connect with other people is just to learn from them. And it can be little learnings or it can be big learnings about, either from how have you gotten to where you are to what do you think about AI and where do you think the job landscape is going? You can learn so many different things about people and about perspective and about experiences that really inform how you yourself want to live your life. I guess something that you can bring into your life and see how luck plays out. If somebody has told you that you were lucky one time, write that down and then list every single input that made that happen. So if somebody said that, oh, you're so lucky to have gotten your internship. Well, write down every single thing that you did, and not to prove a point to them, but to prove it to yourself. I think that is the main point, because once you realize what your agency is and what you have control over and what your hard skills are and what your soft skills are, then you can list them as strengths and interview and just, you get to know yourself a little bit better and you get to know what you're innately good at. It's interesting because I just did a podcast with somebody else and they were listing in the intro every single thing that I had accomplished. And I had kind of forgotten every single thing that I did. And it was nice to hear because I was like, wait a minute, I've actually done a lot more than I thought. And this isn't to toot my own horn, but it's just to remind yourself, because I think we forget so often about how much we've achieved and we're always looking to the next step. But just taking a step back and realizing what you've accomplished, it gives you a little bit more confidence because you have seen the experiences and the skills that you've built. And then you feel like you can just conquer the world after that in a way. And so this is the internal locus that you're building, and it's a muscle that you have to build. Every single input that you list, it's like a rep in the gym. It's like you are acknowledging that you actually have the skills and the agency to control whatever path that you want. And it's not to say that you can control everything, but it's nice to know that you can control what you can. And then this will help reduce the stress levels. As I mentioned before, it will build up your resilience because you can see that you've done it before. And so then you can do it again. And then also, every single time that you've maybe been rejected or felt unlucky in a sense, use that as a data point. Navigation maps analogy is that every single rejection or everything is just a reroute in the maps. If you thought you were going to, go down this road, but then something happened, the road was blocked or whatever, then you find out how to navigate around it and go a different route to get to the destination. There are always so many ways to get to the destination. And I think we just forget that. So don't let being unlucky stop you from reaching what you want. Just use it as a data point to navigate around to get to where you want to go. And there's this quote that I want to end on by Pastor, and he says that chance favors the prepared mind. So basically, when you develop all of these skills and the internal locus, that will prepare you for the opportunities that arise for you to grab them, that external, that random chance, that luck, because you have developed what you need to get those opportunities. And Oprah also says that the harder you work, the luckier you get. And so keep building your internal locus of control. Keep building those skills. And if somebody tells you that you're lucky, think about it as that, yes, I am lucky because I have done every single thing that I did and I grabbed that opportunity and I created that luck myself, and that I am a lucky person. Because once you identify that you're lucky, I assure you, you'll start to see the world in such a different perspective. You'll start to see opportunities that you never did before because you're not closed-minded, because you're open to the opportunities whilst you're building those skills. So luck is both preparation and it's also opportunity. It's basically having the agency and the self-efficacy to believe in yourself that you can do it because of the skills that you've created, and then detaching from the outcome by letting opportunities arise when they can and grabbing it when they arise. And so luck is the word that people use when they don't see the invisible inputs that you're actually putting in. And so just remind yourself of those inputs, because I think that will really help develop your self-efficacy, your self-worth, and also acknowledge what your strengths are as well. So I hope this was helpful to you in just kind of taking back your control and redefining and reframing what luck actually is, because it is a balance between hard work and just opportunities and random chances. And that's what's so cool about life, is that you never know when a random thing is going to happen, a random event, a random person, a random conversation that's going to change your trajectory in life or just change your perspective. And that's why I think it's so important to be curious and open-minded. Also realize that where you've gotten and what you have achieved is also attributed to what you have put in as well, because the inputs really do define the outputs, but you have to be open to seeing what opportunities can navigate you to different ones as well, not just staying stuck in what you can do, because sometimes things are just out of our control. And that's why it's so important to detach from the outcome. And I've definitely talked about this before. And it also explains why competence builds confidence, because you're actively experiencing things and you're establishing skills in order to build that confidence. And so now I want to move on to my clarity round, which I do at the end of every single episode. And it just is a little fun way to get to know me a little bit and also just see where my life is headed in this crazy transition and who I am becoming in a way. And it changes on a daily basis. And honestly, it probably will forever, because not only are your 20s chaotic, but so are your 30s, 40s, and 50s and onwards, and even in your teenage and adolescent years. And so what is the last thing that I've listened to? I listened to a podcast on Hot, Smart, Rich, and it was The Person You Marry Decides Your Wealth, How to Invest, build wealth, and spot winning brands early. And I think this is just a great one to just identify that linear versus non-linear trajectory, and also just what brands are successful and why. What do you actually look in for brands? We always look at companies of brand building, but I think it's really important to understand ourselves as a brand as well. And how can we visibly put our effort so that other people can see it as well? And that's how we establish who we are. And honestly, I think personal branding is one of the ways you get hired as well. And I could do a whole nother episode of that too. And then one thing that I've had to unlearn to level up. Well, I think one thing that I'm unlearning is that always looking 10 steps in the future. I think it's really important to stay present in the moment, especially now when I'm in this transition phase of I'm a postgraduate and then going into employment, really just staying in this present moment in this transition period where I have a lot of freedom to explore, be curious, freedom to take a nap if I want to. I normally don't, but I can. Freedom to go to the gym at 11 a.m. or go get a coffee at 1 p.m. Because those are the things that you are limited to when you're in university and also when you're in employment because you have a set schedule that you need to follow. And then somebody that I am clearly becoming is somebody that does things for me and being selfish in a way. I think selfish is something that is looked down upon, but honestly, I think people should be more selfish. Do things that you enjoy, experiment with things and find things that you enjoy and really do them. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. I mean, unless you are like compromising with a friend, obviously that, under circumstances, there are different things that you might need to compromise on. But if you know that you've done something and that you didn't really enjoy it, and, we all have limited time on this earth, and to really just embrace the things that you want to do as well, and not always being, I guess, a people pleaser in a way of doing things for other people and being peer pressured into that. Just really also making time for yourself and the things that you enjoy as well, I think is a really important reminder. And I think I've spent a lot of times doing things for other people. And now I think I'm doing more things for myself. And obviously, I do things that other people want to do as well that maybe I'm not so keen on, but, also just making that time for yourself. And now I'm just over explaining because that's what I do. Because I think about what if other people perceive me as weirdly, but I'm sure we all do that in a way. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope it gave you a little bit of more insight about luck and what it really means and also just hard work as well. And I hope the point of these concepts that I bring in is just to build that awareness. It's not to create an attachment towards it, but it's to build an awareness and a ground point for how you can utilize it in your life, how you can actually use it to empower you to become the person that you want to be. And so definitely share this with a friend, a family member, whoever, maybe who is a little bit stuck in their own mindset or doesn't grab those opportunities that are there for them, because there are so many opportunities for you. You just have to be the one to be aware of them and to grab them and take that agency as well. So comment below, follow along so that I can continue making more of these episodes. And if you have any insights as well on towards luck, I'd love to hear them. And thank you so much for listening again. And I hope you have a great week ahead. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.